My band is called the DA Method, and basically it's in terms of genre, it's progressive rock. The lyrics and the songs there are trying to convey some kind of message. The album that we've completed recently, and it's going to be released sometime in this year, hopefully next few months, is called The Great Disillusion, where Pakistan is and how things are here, or just generally with life or your relationships, or anything that makes you disillusioned with life and you need to turn to something else. This is for anyone who feels like that. I think when I was about 13 and in school, there used to be these school talent shows where elder children, like 17, 18-year-old kids, used to have their own bands, and they did cover songs of rock bands and stuff like that. So I was exposed to covers of like Metallica and Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, stuff like that. And I liked what I was hearing, so I was like, okay, let's go and find the cassettes of these bands. And I got like Guns N' Roses cassettes and Metallica cassettes, and then I was like, wow, like this is real music. And then I got all their previous albums, and I learned all the, memorized all the lyrics and everything. And I was really drawn to Slash's guitar playing in Guns N' Roses, and at that, it just, his guitar solos just made me feel something which I didn't know that anything else could make me feel. At 15 and a bit, just before I turned 16, I moved to Nairobi in Kenya, because my father, he got a job offer from there, and as a family we had to move. But the great thing there was I went to an international school. I had friends from Europe and Far East and America and Korea, everything. Everyone listened to similar music, and then we would share our own favorite bands, and like I would lend them Janoon CDs, for example, and they would give me their own local bands as well. And that's where my taste really started to broaden up. But at 17, I moved back to Pakistan from Kenya. Luckily, there were a lot of people into music, similar music, and they'd been learning drums and bass and different instruments. So I was able to put together my first band. It was called Void. It was like a metal band. So that's where it really took off. And before I knew it, music scene was taking off, and then I was off to college. So I ended up going to Warwick, and I did economics, and probably the first year of that degree. The other really bizarre thing in England is, your first year of college doesn't really count towards your degree. Your grades in your second and third year are what make your degree, basically. So the first year I had no incentive to do anything in terms of going to class or stuff. So I literally spent my time with my flatmates. One of my flatmates was another guitar player. We used to just write music, just mess around. Year 3, I managed to recover my degree and just pass with a good scores in my final year and stuff. And because of that, I landed a good job in a bank. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I never considered doing music, because at that point, it had been 3 years since I had left Pakistan and had much activity with my band. So even though I was writing music in England with my flatmate, it was just kind of a fun thing, and we didn't really think anyone can make money from this or make a career out of it. First year or two was pretty exciting to work in a bank and be exposed to, London is the financial capital of the world. But after the first couple of years, the recession came, 2008. There were changes in my personal life as well. And I started realizing that life wasn't very fulfilling. I wasn't happy, and I always craved coming back to Pakistan or working on music, but the opportunity cost of leaving a job like that was so high. I didn't think about what makes me happy. Eventually, so I spent like 3 years in the unhappy phase. I was miserable. And eventually, after working there 6 years, there was another round of layoffs, and 90% of my team got laid off, and I was one of them. It so happened, stroke of luck or whatever, the next day after being laid off, I had a gig. And so, I was thinking, I've just got laid off, and next day I'm playing a gig. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do in my life. A few months later, I moved to Pakistan. Initially, I didn't know I want to move back and just do music. I thought, yeah, we're working on an album, साथ साथ होता रहेगा. I'll scope out for a few months, kya ho raha hai Karachi mein, and then I'll look for a job. And so I looked around, I found a decent company, and I worked for them for a while, which was involved in micro health insurance. I did that for a few months, but as music was starting to pick up, we were getting closer to getting our album finished, and there were so many opportunities to do things musically. Plus, I started thinking about starting a recording studio as well. Job like an accountant or a banker or something like that, which anyone can be trained to do that job. Like when I joined the bank in 2006, I'd done an economics degree that had very loose relationship to finance, but I'd never studied finance in my life. And the bank put us on a 6-week training course, sent us to the US, to New York and to Charlotte and stuff. And everything we needed to know to do that job was taught to us in that 6 weeks. So where's my individuality, where's my personality, where's the unique human that I am? It's all gone. So I think what you should do is do something which reflects who you are and give the world a bit of you, because once you're gone, you're gone. Let's say, looking in the last 10, 15 years, there hasn't been a lot of investment in film or in, music. Record labels are pretty much non-existent, but that's not just a local phenomenon, that's a global thing, because with the internet and free downloading, piracy and all that, the idea of paying for music has kind of disappeared. The audiences feels entitled that they can download music for free. So I think right now is a very critical time for the music industry, because we need to figure out, while the rest of the world has kind of, if you look at bands abroad, they've kind of evolved their business models to, their albums and their CDs and their music is kind of a marketing tool for them. And the way they can monetize that is by having shows, having tours, having merchandise, sell t-shirts, mugs, whatever. And the problem in Pakistan is that there's not that many live shows happening. So even if you've got a great band with great exposure and everyone has downloaded your songs at home, you don't have much opportunity to monetize it because there's not many shows happening, and that's because of security issues. But luckily, I think I have a positive outlook, because in the past year, Karachi has had 2 different food festivals, we've had 2 literature festivals, we're just screaming for a music festival now. So, us as the upcoming artists need to think of creative ways to get that support system going, whether we, maybe we look at brands, maybe commercial brands can support us, or maybe we just need to figure out independently organizing tours and music festivals and start to get some revenue in, and then reinvest that revenue to get our people flying abroad and stuff like that. Till the end. If you were to ask me, music is obviously a risk-laden type of career, and it's very few people who really make it big. But my goal is not necessarily to make it big, it's to just sustain a living, and I want to make it big in terms of create massive exposure for people I work with or and for my band and get our message out there. That may or may not translate to big in terms of lots of money and stuff, but that we'll see how that happens. But in terms of, I think if you want to pursue a passion and really want to make it work, then mentally you have to be prepared to go all in and all the way, because if you're only giving it 95%, then that 5% is what separates you from the people that do make it work. What is it that really makes you happy and really makes you excited? If for that kid the answer is music, then that's what you should do. But sometimes the kid might be like, yes, it makes me happy, but should I do it or should I not do it? What would X person think? What would Y person think? What kind of person would marry me if I'm like a struggling musician? All these things start to cloud your judgment. I think you need to kind of separate that decision from everything else. And if you separate it from everything else, then you will end up following your passion. Everything else is just noise. But I think the important thing is, if you want to pursue it, always try to improve. Always try to play music with different people. It doesn't have to be people that are into the same bands as you, but when you get into a room with another musician and you both just start figuring each other out and try to find some ground where you can meet musically, then your skills as a musician would really benefit from that. We've done a couple of songs with a sarangi player, never having played with sarangi player before. Just brought him in cold and see what interpretation he had of the music, and just took it from there. Just the vibe that you get from hearing a completely unique sound, it makes you play differently, and it expands your mind and your ability. So I think always just push yourselves in new directions, and you'll always find something that you enjoy.